Welcome to the AdColony Future of Video webinar. I hope everyone's doing well and staying safe out there. So in this webinar, we are going to cover and discuss the complexity of online video, which, as a lot of you know, there's so many different formats out there with skippable video, non-skippable video, autoplay, without sound, rewarded video, and so on and so forth. And there's so many different metrics that you can look at. So in the webinar, I'm going to give a quick presentation, which will look at some of the key things that we see needs to happen for a successful video campaign. And AdColony is a business that focuses on mobile gaming video. And after that, we have an incredible panel that will discuss how to be successful at video. So thank you very much to Jody Fraser, Commercial Director at Publicis, and Steph Shang, Head of Media at Essence, Jessica Miles, Country Manager, ANZ. And I just want to take a little minute here and say that we really tried, but we could not find any competent, smart men out there on the panel. So, you know, in order to be diverse, we had to throw in our very own Tom Simpson, who's the VP of APAC at AdColony. Hi, Steph. Hi, Jody. Hi, Jessica. How are you guys?
Hi.
Good.
Great.
Good, thanks.
That is amazing to hear. It makes me so happy.
Hey, how you doing?
So we can start. So, Steph, what is your favorite game and when do you game, if you do? Are you a gamer?
I actually don't game, but I do live with someone that wishes they were a full-time gamer. So I think I get a lot of insight into how much people enjoy gaming through my other half. So that's really what's actually challenged my biases around gamers.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. What about you, Jody?
So I play Tringles and Dots. I don't know if anyone knows what they are, but they're amazing. And if you know me, I'm a real, I watch a lot of television because I've got a problem. And I always game during it. I actually looked at my screen time on the weekend and it's like 50% of my time is gaming now.
Wow.
But I also don't want to be called a gamer.
Yeah. But I have bad news for you.
I know.
What about you, Jessica?
I'm the type of gamer that games during those snackable moments. So if I'm waiting for public transport or if I'm waiting for my husband to pick me up, I will jump on and play a little bit of Tetris here, a little bit of Angry Birds there. So definitely not a fully fledged gamer, but like to fill in those moments when, I guess before we had mobile, we just used to sit at the bus stop and appreciate the free time we had. But now we have to pack that in with all the different things like gaming that can keep us distracted from free time.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, Tom, what about you?
Dude, I mean, I either play FIFA or something like that, same as you, or I play, just puzzle games, something like Monuments or something just kind of easy, hyper casual type stuff. Just to kill the time.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm quite a big FIFA player. So yeah, I'll spend probably an hour a day doing that. All right, well let's delve into this. Looking at scale, there's still quite a lot of hesitation from the advertising industry as to recognizing, mobile gaming video just as another, mass reach channel for performance video. I mean, why do you guys think that is, or do you think it is that way? And start with Steph.
Yeah, I do think that the challenge of scale is twofold, because the first part of your category is mobile. And the reality is, like, as a planner, there's so many ways that you can get scale across mobile that isn't necessarily contextually tied to a category like gaming. That said, though, I think it's really short-sighted from a planning perspective as well, not to understand that, there's ways that you need to build frequency, there's ways that you need to expand the diversity of how your campaign experience and communication is being, I guess, delivered to your audience. So from that perspective as well, like, it's really important for, I guess, planners to think about the numbers at the end of the day, and think about where gaming and mobile gaming specifically fits within the campaign mix, because especially like working on big advertisers, when you've got to really get scale out in a short amount of time. Like I used to work in like movie distribution, and so like even your Transformers example, like you've only got 3 weeks to get it out there before box office hits. So, you know, those types of parameters really impact how you think about opportunities. And I think that, that's really important, that you think about scale a bit differently from that aspect.
Yeah. What about you, Jody? What do you think? Is there a hesitance and why?
I think the issue is the mobile part, just in general. We don't really buy like that anymore. And I think mobile sits in this really weird space where obviously you can deliver some really good results and scale's really important. But every time we think of mobile, we end up running stuff through the agencies that we created to run mobile, or people don't really understand it. It's something that sort of, you know, for like 10 years we were having the year of mobile that never happened, and then now it's just another device. And so I think it's just one of those things, like in such a complicated market and with so many different things that can provide similar results, planners and buyers don't often think about it clearly enough. And then gaming's sort of the other part of it, because obviously there's some sort of leftover stigma around gaming and really understanding what it is, even though when you talk to people, most of the time they have or do play all the games. Yeah.
And is that where do you think that resistance is coming from? Is it more within the agencies or on the client side? Where is most of that living?
I think you've got 2 things going on. So from the client side, I do think there's some resistance because they haven't really been educated enough. And I think from the agency side, it's that, you know, if you know a lot about how media agencies are structured, everybody's pretty time poor, as they would say. And that just means that there's not a lot of time for people to think and educate their clients. And so you're coming up against both issues.
Yeah, okay. And what about you, Jessica?
I think from a measurement perspective, we've historically had challenges measuring across mobile the same way we would measure across mobile web, specifically mobile in-app. And then if you overlay that with video as well, there's challenges with the format, vast format within in-app, which makes it quite difficult to measure. I think with the OM SDK that we worked with the IAB to create, that really helps with measurement, specifically across video in-app. And I think with that increased measurement within the in-app environment, it becomes easier for marketers and agencies to understand the performance of that medium compared to the other mediums and channels where we've had that measurement for quite a while.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Tom?
I mean, I shouldn't really be allowed to ask this question because I'm obviously just going to say nice things about mobile gaming, which is very naughty. But I mean, I'd say lots of good points in here. I mean, for me, the kind of, the macro view is mobile gaming is a channel, just like social, just like VOD, and, you need a channel strategy around that. So, yeah, I mean, it deserves attention from brands. Now we've got the open measurement SDK in place. It's easy to measure and understand the value of the output that you're getting from investment in mobile gaming, and just use it as a channel in the same way you use social or VOD, reach consumers at scale, whatever. But I mean, there are intricacies to mobile gaming that means and advantages to mobile gaming and rewarded video, whatever it is, that makes it different and unique and possibly better, although I'm not allowed to say that.
That was very nice things you said there. So the polls came in. So the most important channel is YouTube for people. What are your thoughts on that, Jody? Is that the most important channel?
I mean, I would say it's the channel people spend the most money against, but whether it's the most important channel, I would largely disagree.
How would you rank?
I'm not going to say anymore.
All right. So let me just get a few questions up here that I've got. So, I mean, the brand safety or brand suitability question, brand suitability, more nuanced metric is becoming more popular. And, is this something brands should adopt, and why? Probably direct this to you, Jessica, first. And what are some of the, I guess, challenges or opportunities by doing that?
Yeah, I think whilst we talk about brand suitability and its importance, brand safety is the baseline. And so a lot of marketers, and this is definitely our advice, is to start to implement a multi-layer approach. So you have your baseline brand safety, which is where you definitely don't want to appear for whatever reason. Maybe it's, hate speech or terrorism, adult content. And then you overlay that with brand suitability, which is choosing the type of content which is right for your brand to be against. And that will be quite specific to each different brand. Brand suitability in a gaming environment, it's like we've spoken about earlier, gaming is another category. So just like news, there is suitable areas for brands to appear on across news and unsuitable areas for brands to appear against. And it's the same with gaming. There will be some gaming content that would be brilliant for brands to appear against, and there'll be some gaming content that would be unsuitable for particular brands. But that's really up to the marketers to define, because the marketers are the ones that know their brands, they understand their brand value, and they know what type of content is appropriate for their brand to appear against.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, and a follow-up on that, Steph, that, there seems to be quite a large part of advertisers that would categorize the whole gaming vertical in the non-brand suitable. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think like gaming is just a categorization, and within that is so many content genres. So it's like Netflix, you've got horror, you've got lighthearted entertainment and comedy. Same thing can be said for gaming. Like the gaming spectrum is so broad. Like you've got games like The Last of Us that have like actually notable actors that you would know acting in these games, where it's actually like an interactive movie experience almost, all the way through to snackable games that, you're just playing on the bus stop, like Jess kind of mentioned before. So I think that, people should be thinking about genres in that sense, because gaming is the exact same. So when you're doing a TV buy or thinking about content, same thing can kind of be applied, like using that type of interpretation of how you categorize and think about gaming. But I think Jess made a good point around risk appetite. I think that's what it comes down to as well when it comes to brand safety. It's thinking about, if you're a bank versus a FMCG, very different levels of risk appetite, very different levels of compliance when it comes to this space as well, in terms of how you're governed, how you're audited, how you're thinking about brand suitability from that aspect too. So I think that, if we start to think about gaming as just another kind of entertainment experience, and start to break down what aspects of gaming people are going into, and back to consumer experience. So, how they're actually interacting with the game, just like how they're interacting with a TV episode or whatever it may be. That helps, I think, contextualize things better for marketers to be able to say, hey, like this is just someone chilling at the bus stop alongside your outdoor ad, alongside your whatever ad. These are the connections that join up a person's day, and this is how you can intercept that moment. So I think when you start to talk about it in layman's terms and really like demystify what gaming is, that I think that really helps people become more relatable in that instance.
Yeah. And I know Tom always thinks that I'm too extreme, but you look at some of these auto brands that will, they will product placement in, a very heavy action movie where the hero is, literally inside your product while shooting at people. But, I really like those points. And I know I've chatted to you, Jody, before. You've said kind of something similar where does it come a little bit from maybe laziness that advertisers think, gaming, no, because you've told me that, when they go, no, we don't want to be in gaming, and then you explain these are the type of games, they go, oh.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's laziness. Like, we're not going to make any friends calling media people lazy. But I think it's, marketers and media are addicted to the cheap CPMs that we get with YouTube. And what's crazy to me is that no matter what kind of game you went against or ran against, the things that you could run against on YouTube are so much more unsafe. And it kind of makes me feel like moving to something where you talk about brand suitability is just like an excuse to let everyone continue to advertise on YouTube. And I find it really frustrating because obviously when you look at gaming, like it is always going to be more brand safe than that. And if we're willing to offset that because we're getting cheap CPMs and high reach, then why wouldn't this be a consideration?
Yeah. So, and I mean, on that topic as well, looking at video, obviously the first step is cheap CPM. What are some of the success metrics that you guys as an agency look at when you're running video?
Look, I'm a commercial person, so the only thing I care about is like a CPCV, and nothing else matters to me because I don't actually work on brands myself. So probably Steph, better answer than me.
Yeah, well, definitely I'm the same. Like CPMs are, just a surface metric, and I also focus on CPCV, but I actually focus on like a quality CPCV, as you know, Lance, in terms of, I guess, like having worked together. So what I mean by that is like, Essence, especially, like we are a very data-driven company, and off the back of that, I think the likes of IAS, the Moats of the world, have really changed the game in terms of what we're able to measure and in terms of how we think about video, because historically it was just, you got this many completes and job done, go for an espresso martini. Now it's like very much, okay, what was your AVOC? What was your time in view? Like there's so many quality metrics that help signify that video impression, that it's no longer about how much did it cost me for every 1,000 impressions, but what did I get off the back of that? And I think working for a company where like data science is at the spine of everything that we do, we then take that one step further by looking at the data science side of things. So for us, we're looking at the diagnostic media metrics like a quality cost per completed view, but also and quality CPM, of course. But off the back of that as well, like thinking about, did we shift the brand needle around things like aided awareness or ad recall? But to take it one step further, consideration, purchase intent, all of those things that I think storytelling AV does a really good job at when it comes to brand building. And so when we start to look at shifting the brand needle and that side of things as well, we then start to look at metrics like cost per impacted user and all of those types of things that allow brand marketers to have something a bit more robust to take back to, I guess, the financial people in their business to be able to campaign for more budget to help build their brand. Because if you want to go down the whole Peter Field school of thought, like we all know the importance of brand equity and brand building and what that does for a lot of companies in the long term. So it's good business to be able to understand how the media metrics at a surface level have a correlation with brand health and a lot of the longer term things that people focus on.
Yeah, just to jump in actually, Steph, you made a really good point. A lot of the agencies and marketers that we're working with at the moment, and this is from the media quality measurement side, we're seeing more of a focus on trying to drive up those qualified impressions, so brand safe, fraud free and viewable, but then invest in the amount of time that those impressions are being shown to their consumers. And so time is becoming a key currency and something we're really speaking about in market. And one of the great things about, I guess, platforms is the ability to, or even mobile, is the ability to maximize that time in front of the user. So if you can prove that you can generate more time than some of your other competitors out there as a mobile provider, then you're definitely showing a point of differentiation in the ability to maximize the investment in that impression.
Totally. And sorry, Lance, if I'm holding you up, but I think just to bounce off your point, Jess, not all impressions are equal, and we're not expecting everything to be the same CPCV at an agency side. Like Jodie, hopefully you agree, like, there's a different value for different types of communications interactions. And so what I do a lot with like my team is try and educate them to work really closely with the creative agencies to understand, what are you actually trying to communicate here? Are we here to tell a story? Are we here to just push a sale on now, 50% off kind of message? Because the amount of time that is required to communicate that point is very different. And so how we KPI and how we think about the role of video in communication is very different too, because video could be a 2-minute story, it could be a content series, or it could just be a quick bumper ad. So I think it's really important to unpack the nuances as well. And where I think AdColony is quite effective is like, it's full screen and it's great for that push style communications, because, you know, that value exchange is really clear and it's just like, bam, in your face, like, move on, let's get to the next level.
There's a question for you. I mean, does the industry, do you guys look at kind of screen coverage real estate? Is it something that you guys attribute a value to? I guess it's the first question. Oh, sorry, go on.
I think simple answer is yes.
Yeah, and I'll ask Jody that as well. So, because screen real estate seems, you know, in a lot of different advertising environments, like, you know, out of home, it's very connected to the size. The size of the screen is connected to the price, and it feels like in mobile or in digital, it's not that way.
Look, I mean, I'm kind of in two minds about it. Like, obviously full screen's important when we're buying any video through our video product. It has to be. When it comes to that particular research, I don't know, it was pretty, it was for a very specific reason. So I don't love it. But I actually don't think, I mean, I do think that things are priced accordingly regardless. Like, it's not like you can buy full screen video for the same price as you can buy a video MREC. So I think that's already happening, and people do understand the value.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, outstream video is a very different price to in-stream versus anything that's bought on a connected TV. So yeah, I think that we do have like CPMs in market that are, you know, weighted accordingly to that.
Yeah. That's interesting. So for you, Steph, there, so one of the things that we're seeing as a bit of a challenge is that, you know, you have in-stream and then you have outstream. And when you look at mobile gaming, it doesn't fit into either of those. And, you know, the rewarded aspect, user-initiated aspect is something that a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their heads around. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I tend to use in-stream and outstream like more from the language of like it being in a web-based like environment, like a browser base, because the reality with that type of video is you are sharing the space with the content. It's often written content, so it's often news content or it's article based, and I think that's the reason why people use that kind of language in stream outstream. But I mean, like, again, it's just about having a deep understanding of the landscape to understand what's going to be incremental to the key channels and platforms that exist versus what's going to be complementary, what's additive, and what is simply just doubling up on the same job. So I think once you're able to understand and find white space, something like if you work on a big client where you're running a lot of things at the same time, and you're, you know, running multiple portfolios in market at the same time, clients are like, individual marketers are always looking for white space. So it's really important to look at mobile gaming as, you know, this category within video rather than as an extension of anything, because I think that's where the common misconception occurs, is like, it's just mobile video. And it's like, well, actually, like, mobile video, what does that even mean? Like, there's so many, like, yeah. YouTube, that could be mobile video if you think about it from an in-app perspective. Facebook Watch, that is also mobile video. So it's really important that we actually have a deep understanding of what comprises the landscape so that we're able to help maneuver around that and think about planning in a more meaningful way to say, this is going to be additive to your campaign and help you build frequency, versus this is actually the core channel that's going to help you with your distribution or whatever it may be. So mobile gaming is not, you know, it shouldn't be lumped in with other things. It's really a standalone kind of category. And it's important for planners to understand how to capitalize on that white space. Yeah.
And you had some interesting thing you wanted to say around rewarded media as well when we chatted.
Did I? I'm joking. Well, yeah, I think like we've had a lot of discussions around the importance of value exchange, and understanding the fact that I think some people often associate, oh, it's reward based, like that, you know, like as though incentivize is a dirty word, but it's like, well, they at least understand what they're getting themselves into, and there's less likelihood of ad annoyance. And, you know, it's not even just AdColony in the industry that does it. Like, a lot of companies are thinking about how to get more meaningful ad interactions with their audience. So whether that be YouTube thinking about looking at their TrueView product to say, hey, if you don't want to watch this ad, skip it after 5 seconds.
Yeah.
All the way through to Spotify going, hey, like, if you want to listen to 30 minutes of ad-free listening, watch this 30-second ad in their sponsored sessions product. So it's really common, actually. And I think that it's really important that people don't see it as like a negative thing. It's just a value exchange. Just like you want to watch a 60-minute reality TV program, there's going to be some ads. Like, you know, so when you start thinking about it from that perspective, I don't see why getting through to another level should be any different.
Steph, I mean, sorry, I want to jump in there because it's such an interesting point, and you know, made exactly the right point. I mean, what we're talking about is not value exchange or no value exchange, it's value exchange explicit or non-explicit. So explicit exchange or non-explicit, because I mean, all advertising is value exchange. I don't watch the ads so that I can watch the football game. You know, sorry, I don't watch the football game so I can watch the ads. I watch the ads so that I get the football game for free. That's the value exchange. And I mean, that is the entire advertising ecosystem. So yeah, so actually it's this beautiful additive thing that, you know, that we be explicit about that value exchange and make consumers understand, you know, what's going on, and that just leaves everybody with a better feeling. So yeah, really good point.
I think it's a mindset thing, because like, you know, like pure simple economics, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Like, at the end of the day, you get an amazing game that's professionally like produced, that is of high quality. You know, you could pay $15 for it, or you could just watch an ad. And I think that for people to think that these things come for free is just, something that really needs to be educated, because it's not free.
Yes, and what's interesting to that is, I think the number of people that will pay for a game is around 2%. So if we're looking at those type of freemium games where there's the option of engaging with ads or paying money, I think that number sits around 2%. So in terms of the performance and screen real estate, Tom, do you have anything you wanted to add there? I saw that you were nodding away.
No, it's all right. I think everybody's made all of the points. I think it's an interesting discussion. I think at one end you've got CPCV as a buying currency, and that's, right now that's what we should be focused around. I'd say we have worrying conversations with clients where we're not even clear that, a CPCV is the focus as the buying currency, where actually maybe it's still kind of further upstream as the CPM. So that's kind of super worrying. I think in the middle, there's, there are measurable, attributable quality metrics like full screen. I mean, I'd even go further with user initiated, the difference between user initiated and user requested, which is what rewarded video is, viewability, brand suitability. I mean, all measurable, data-driven stuff that you can do within your online video buying that takes you beyond the CPCV. And then, down to some of the stuff that Steph is talking about, how can we bring brand lift into it? How can we understand the impact of engagement? So, in interactive video, end cards on video, and taking it beyond what is currently measurable in the digital space. But yeah.
That was very, very well put. And I think we have now run over time already. So does anybody have anything they want to add? I feel they didn't ask. Excellent.
What was the goal to the poll for the
the poll, yes.
So the 12 months, in the next 12 months, which is...
The next 12 months, the things that are going to grow the most were mobile gaming and BVOD.
Wow, I think that's probably right.
I want that to be right.
No, but I think BVOD as well. I mean, BVOD gets a hell of a lot of attention right now, and rightly. But I think those are the two channels.
And I think if you think about our consumption, especially off the back of COVID, we're all at home. It makes sense that those two channels have been ranked that way, considering we're all shifting our consumption habits.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. I think one of my concerns is that depending on how long this goes on, is that it's tougher to produce content. And obviously there's a lot of content that's already been produced, but if this goes on for longer, these kind of big productions that require, hundreds of people or thousands of people to fly all over the world, might make it tricky. All right, so thank you guys for joining the panel and for all the great stuff that you said. For everyone that joined, thank you. And we'll be sharing the presentation for anyone that's interested in that. So yeah, thank you, Steph. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.
See ya.
See ya.